The Lord is my shepherd. You repeat Psalm 23, but you live as if God had abandoned you. He prays for provision, but thinks like someone who is about to lose everything. He says he has faith, but he feeds his mind with fear, doubt, and the old voice of scarcity. The truth is, many people know the psalm by heart, but still live without peace. Because between quoting the verse and living its reality, there is an abyss. And what saddens most is realizing how this scarcity mentality has been normalized within the Christian environment, as if constant struggle was a sign of holiness, as if emotionally depending on financial chaos was a kind of spiritual humility. But this does not come from God. This comes from a distorted religious tradition that confuses poverty with piety. The word says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge," Hosea 4:6. And this includes knowing what God really thinks about provision. Many believe they were born to survive with the bare minimum, that thriving is a sign of vanity, that wanting more is a lack of gratitude. But the biblical truth is different. God is not a father who just keeps his children alive. He is a father who wants to see his children bearing fruit, making an impact, growing. Prosperity is not having a lot. It's having enough to fulfill the purpose. And if your purpose is great, why would your provision be small? And here's a provocation. Are you praying for provision while holding thoughts that block prosperity? Do you ask for open doors, but continue to feed your mind with narratives of scarcity, fear, insecurity? Because the problem is not the closed sky. It is the mind that is not prepared to receive what God wants to release. And that's what this video will be about. How to align faith, mindset, and action to get out of the cycle of survival and into the flow of abundance. When David writes, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," he is not just expressing a hope. He is making a declaration of spiritual reality. He is saying, "I know who guides me. I know where my supply comes from. I no longer live like someone who is adrift, trying to survive on my own." This is a deep conviction of anyone who has experienced God's constant care. This sentence is not passive. It's not a vague desire. It is a statement from someone who has already been tested in the field of scarcity and still decided to trust. David does not write this from a comfortable throne, but from a place of an inner battle won. He recognizes that it does not depend on favorable circumstances, but on an ongoing relationship with the God who supplies. And soon after, he writes, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." Green pasture is not just a beautiful field. It is a symbol of security, food, and rest for the soul. But the detail is, he makes me rest. In other words, it is the shepherd who leads to rest, not the absence of problems. This changes everything. Because peace doesn't come when everything is fine. Peace comes when you know you are not alone. David reveals a spiritual pattern that many ignore. First comes identity. The Lord is my shepherd. Then comes provision. I shall not want. Then comes rest. Make me rest. There is an order. God does not start by giving. He starts revealing himself. And it is this revelation that changes the way you walk. The image of the shepherd is powerful because it represents direction, care, and correction. It is the shepherd who guides, who protects from danger, and who disciplines with love. When David says he is being guided by God, he is affirming that his life is under a government, and that this government is fair, safe, and full of grace. This confronts the modern mentality of autonomy, independence, of doing everything for yourself. David chooses to depend, and this dependence is not weakness. It is wisdom, because those who are guided by the shepherd never walk in circles. Whoever hears the voice of God does not live in confusion. David shows us that walking with the shepherd is a journey of safety, even in the valley, even in the dark, even without answers. And that is the invitation of Psalm 23. Not just recite, but live. Not just know, but trust. Because when the mind surrenders, the heart finds rest. The beauty of Psalm 23 lies precisely in its power to become practical. It was not written to be framed on the wall, but lived in the corridors of your home, behind the scenes of your routine, in silent decisions that no one sees. When David says, "I shall not want," he is not nullifying reality. He is establishing a truth higher than visible reality. He is teaching that living by faith is walking supported by convictions and not by conditions. The application of the psalm begins with small attitudes. It's not about waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky, but about positioning the mind and heart to recognize the signs of God's care in the ordinary. It's understanding that when you wake up and choose to trust, even without seeing it, that is already a miracle. When you act wisely, even without emotion, that is faith in movement. It is at this level that life changes, in secret, in silence, in consistency. Prosperity, then, stops being a distant target and becomes a fruit of those who decided to live with purpose. It's not just about finances, but about fulfillment. It's about making decisions that honor the God who guides you, spending with purpose, managing with diligence, dreaming with responsibility. Because whoever understands that they have a shepherd begins to live like a well-cared-for sheep, in peace, in order, and in movement. The way you take care of your home, organize your schedules, deal with your resources, all of this reveals whether you really believe that the Lord is your shepherd. True faith manifests itself in the routine, in the details, behind the scenes. It's about controlling your emotions, the way you respond to pressure, the choice between spending or saving, between remaining silent or reacting. Psalm 23 is about mindset. A mind that aligns itself with divine provision no longer lives in despair, it lives in discernment. And this is where many people get lost. They believe in the God of provision, but they do not walk with the mentality of provision. Waiting for open doors, but still living under mental scarcity, desires favor, but makes decisions based on fear. And God does not work where doubt reigns. The peace that David experienced came from the certainty that even if everything around him fell apart, the shepherd would continue to guide his steps. That trust changes everything. When you live with this awareness, you stop chasing things and start walking with purpose. Anxiety loses strength, despair becomes silent, haste gives way to direction, and then, even in the midst of chaos, you can rest. Because whoever is guided by the shepherd understands that each step is within a greater plan. There is no more randomness. There is a mission. There is government. There is rest, not because of the scenery, but because of the certainty of those who are guiding. Now I want to ask you honestly, what would you do if God gave you everything you've been asking for today? Would you have the emotional structure to deal with this? Would you know how to sustain the blessing, or would it become a burden? Sometimes God's greatest mercy is not to give, but to hold until you are ready so as not to waste. Most people are not held back by a lack of promises, but by a lack of preparation. God is in no rush to promote you if He knows that your soul is still trapped in fear, doubt, pride, or comparison. The valley you face today may be precisely the environment where He is training you, where He is removing everything that would prevent you from sustaining what comes next. And if you stop to think, perhaps you have already received deliverances that you will only understand in the future. So if today you feel like you're on hold, don't despair. This silence can be construction. This time may be forming in you the version that God needs to release the next level. There is no point in asking for a harvest if you are still treating the land as if it were infertile soil. God does not work in a hurry. He works with purpose. And if He hasn't handed you over yet, perhaps it's because He wants to root you first. Because a blessing without roots is lost in the wind. You got here because God wanted to awaken you. And now that you've heard all this, you can't ignore it anymore. Then take a deep breath and declare with faith, "The Lord is my shepherd. I no longer live by fear. I live by purpose." Say it with your mouth, write it in the comments to keep it in your heart, and share it with someone you love. It could be exactly this word that God wants to use to raise another life too. Don't keep what was revealed here to yourself, because every seed you plant in another heart also bears fruit in yours. If this word touched your heart, don't let it pass. Click on Sign Up now and come be part of this journey with us. Here at Be Prosperous, you will not find empty religiosity, but purposeful direction. Every week, you will receive words that transform, principles that align, and strategies that awaken your true identity. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any content, and be ready to experience everything that heaven has already written about you. Because when you align yourself with God's truth, even deserts bloom. And whoever is guided by the shepherd will never be lost again.